In January 2002, police in Yorkshire made a horrifying discovery. Inside a discarded metal suitcase lay the body of a young Korean woman. That single grim find unraveled one of the darkest investigations in modern British history and exposed a killer whose double life shocked everyone who thought they knew him. Kim Kyu So was born in South Korea around 1971 or 1972. Not much is known about his childhood, but by September of 2000, following a failed marriage, he left his country and moved to London. His stated purpose was simple: to study English. But within a year, his real life had gone far off course. By October 2001, he had dropped out of his studies and turned instead to making money by renting out apartments. One flat was located on Eagle Street near Holborn, London's legal district, and another was a duplex on Gasta Street in Poplar. To attract tenants, Kim advertised online, mostly drawing foreign students, many of them fellow Koreans. On the surface, Kim seemed friendly, polite, and helpful. He smiled often, charmed people easily, and claimed to come from a wealthy background. To those around him, he looked like a man in control of his life, financially stable and socially secure. But in reality, it was all an illusion. Behind the smile, Kim was drowning in debt. His credit accounts had been canceled, and his financial world was collapsing. To make matters worse, Kim and his girlfriend, Mariko Ishimura, a young Japanese hairdresser, were using drugs. By the fall of 2001, their relationship was falling apart, and Mariko was spending less and less time in the Eagle Street flat. It was around this time that Kim met Jin Hyo-jung, a 21-year-old Korean exchange student. Jin was brilliant, having studied French literature at Korea University and spending time in Lyon, France. She wanted to see Paris and London before returning home to her family in Korea. On October 24, 2001, Jin arrived in London and arranged to stay briefly at Kim's flat. She was due to return to France on October 27th. She never made it. On the night of October 26th, Kim attacked her. The details remain unclear, but investigators later determined that he bound her wrists, covered her face with tape, and suffocated her to death. Before killing her, he forced her to hand over her banking information. He then stuffed her body into a metal suitcase, hiding it inside the wardrobe of his bedroom. When other tenants asked about Jin, Kim casually told them she had left early to return to France and that he had personally dropped her off at the station. It was a calculated lie. By the very next day, October 27th, Kim was already draining her bank accounts. He failed with her first card, a family emergency account, but succeeded days later, withdrawing nearly £2, zero. With her French account, he involved another young Korean woman, sending her to Paris with the stolen card to make withdrawals. Kim's goal was twofold: to steal money and to create the illusion that Jin herself had traveled to Paris. But the truth was far more chilling. On October 31st, Kim drove nearly 4 hours into the Yorkshire countryside. There, under the cover of darkness, he abandoned the suitcase containing Jin's lifeless body on the side of a remote road. Weeks later, another victim would fall into his trap. Sun In-hae, a cheerful 22-year-old student, moved into Kim's Gasta Street flat in late November 2001. Friends described her as sociable, always smiling, and deeply devoted to her family. On December 7th, after sharing a meal with Kim, she vanished. Kim had repeated the same horrific method: tape, restraint, and suffocation. Her body remained hidden in the apartment for months. Meanwhile, Jin's family had raised the alarm. A Korean officer studying in London noticed her missing person report online and connected it to the discovery of a suitcase in Yorkshire. On January 20, 2002, authorities confirmed that the remains were indeed Jin's. From there, the investigation quickly led back to Kim. Forensic teams uncovered traces of blood and the same unusual decorative tape at Kim's flats, a distinctive design by artists Gilbert and George, sold only at Tate galleries in the UK. When cross-referenced with sales records, it narrowed the scope dramatically. Kim, however, had fled to Canada, continuing his double life by renting rooms in Toronto. But by January 2002, detectives had enough evidence. On January 17th, he returned briefly to London, and that very night, he was arrested in an internet cafe. During trial, Kim attempted to minimize his crimes, even calling one of the deaths an erotic game gone wrong. But the evidence was overwhelming. In March 2003, he was convicted of murdering both Jin Hyo-jung and Son In-hae and sentenced to 2 life terms. The judge called his acts uniquely cruel, emphasizing that both victims trusted him and suffered unimaginable terror in their final moments. And so, the smiling landlord with the false charm was revealed for what he truly was, a cold-blooded predator. What do you think, friends? Were Kim's crimes driven by financial desperation or something much darker inside him? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more chilling true crime stories.